Hello everyone. Welcome to the day 7 of Core Java. Today we will be talking about a very important pillar of OOPS, that is inheritance. So what is inheritance? Inheritance in Java is a very fundamental concept of OOPS that allows a new class to inherit properties and behaviors from an existing class. So what does inheritance promotes? It promotes code reusability and establishes a relationship between classes. So, what is the main purpose of inheritance? Promoting code reusability and establishing a hierarchical relationship between classes. So, what are the key concepts of inheritance? The key concepts of inheritance is a superclass and subclass. So, a superclass is also known as a parent class. It is a class whose properties and methods are inherited. And then we have our subclass, which is also known as child class. This class is the class that inherits from the superclass. So now let's see a basic syntax. So here we have a class. First we write the class keyword and then we write a class name. So here we can see we have created a class parent and then we have created a class child which is extending from class parent. So this is the basic syntax of inheritance where the class child is inheriting from extending our parent class and inheriting from the parent class. So in Java we use the extends keyword to inherit from a parent class. So now let's see a practical example of inheritance. So let's remove all this. Let's clear it out. Now we will be seeing a simple example of inheritance. So let's create a class parent as we created there. Let's create a class parent. This will be our parent class and let's create a child class child, which is extending the parent class. So now we have created two classes. One is class parent and the other is class child. So what we are going to do now, we will just be inheriting the properties we will be writing some fields in our first class and then we will be inheriting the properties of that class in our different class. So now let's write some fields here. So what I'm going to write here, let's write a simple function for the time being. So I'm going to write void display. So I'm just going to display here, I am parent, and then I'm just going to create the same function here, and then I'm going to write I am child here. So now I'm just going to create the object of my child class. Now I will be creating the object of this child class and I'm going to call the display function here. Now let's run our program. So now let's see. We got the output as I am child because our child class inherited the override the function display from the parent class, and when we created the object of our child class and called the display function, we got the output as I am child. So this is a very simple example of inheritance, that how we implement inheritance. So now let's move forward. Now we are going to see the types of inheritance. So what are the types of inheritance? So first we have single inheritance. So what does happen in inheritance? Single inheritance. In single inheritance, one class inherits from other. So here a simple relationship established where one class is directly inheriting from another. So as we saw in our example, we created a class parent and then we created a class child, which was extending from class parent. So as you can see here we have a class A and a class B is extending from class A. So this is a very simple type of inheritance. So where do we use single inheritance? We use single inheritance, that is our simple inheritance, when we have a very clear parent-child relationship and the child class needs to extend the functionality of a single parent class. So let's assume I have created a simple parent class and then I created another class in which I have to define some more methods and fields, but I also want to use the functionalities of my parent class. So then I will be using simple inheritance where single inheritance where I will be extending the functionalities of my parent class and also adding the additional functionalities what I need. So next, let's come forward to the next type of inheritance. Next type of inheritance is multi-level inheritance. So what is multi-level inheritance? In multi-level inheritance, a chain of classes is there where a class inherits from another class, which in turn inherits from another class. So a class inherits from a class which is also a subclass. As you can see here, we have a class A and then we have a class B which is extending the class A, and then we have a class C which is extending the subclass B. So now let's see a practical example of multi-level inheritance. So let's remove it. Let's take a some good example so that it will be more clear. So let's take a generic class that we have class animal, a general class. So it has a simple function that is eat, and we are just going to print here I am. Let's print animal eats. Okay, so it is more defining the function. So now let's create another function that is class mammal, which is extending our class animal. So now what is happening here? We are just going to create a function void walk. Here I'm just going to print that mammals walk. Now just let's create another class dog, which is extending our mammal class. So now we are going to create another function that is void bark. And now we are going to just print here that dog barks. So now what is happening here? Now let's create an object of dog class. So now let's create an object of dog class here. So I have created an object. Now let's call the different methods here. So first I'm going to call bark method. Then going to call walk method. Okay, let's call walk method and then let's try to run it. So now let's see. We have got the output as dog barks and mammals walk. So now here we just created the object of dog class, which was extending our mammal class. And we can see here that from the object of our dog class, we are also calling the function of mammal class. So this is the example of inheritance. So this is the type of multi-level inheritance where a chain of classes are there and a class inherits from another class, which in turn inherits from another class. So where do we use our multi-level inheritance? We use multi-level inheritance when we have a hierarchy where each level of classes adds more specific functionality. So here, when we add our certain classes, we add some more specific functionalities. So let's move forward. Next, we have hierarchical inheritance. So what is hierarchical inheritance? It is that when multiple classes inherit from a single parent class. So let's assume we have a single parent class and we have certain subclasses which are different from each other, but they need a specific functionality which is common to them and which is present in our parent class. So then we are going to use our hierarchical inheritance. So here what happens, here there is a class A which is a parent class and class B is extending A class and class C is also extending A class. So let's see a practical example of this. So now let's create our method. So I am creating a method, a class shape. Here I am going to create a method void draw. So now I'm going to just print here drawing a shape. So this is a general class shape. So let's take a specific shape that is class circle and what it will be extending my shape class. And then let's also create a different class. Let's create a rectangle class. And it will also be extending our shape class. So now what we will be doing, we are inheriting from a single class shape which has a method draw. So circle can also have a method draw, and rectangle can also have a method draw, as we can draw both circle and rectangle. Now let's override that method present in our parent class, and let's try drawing a circle here and drawing a rectangle here. So what is happening here? We are inheriting from a single parent class, that is shape, and we are overriding the method draw here. So now let's create a object of my rectangle class, and then let's call my draw function, and let's run our program. So here we can see we got the output as drawing a rectangle, as we created the object of rectangle class, and it is extending my shape class, that was my parent class, and it also overrided the method draw and just gave it its own implementation. So this is an example of my hierarchical inheritance. So where do we use hierarchical inheritance? We use it when several classes share common functionality from a single parent class, allowing for code reusability. So these were our three types of inheritance. We have one more type of inheritance in Java, that is multiple inheritance, but that is implemented using interface. So what is the use case of multiple inheritance? So when a class needs to inherit from multiple sources, Java allows this through interfaces. So what are interfaces? So interfaces are also a very important topic, but we will be learning about it in abstraction. As then it will be more clear to you. So thank you everyone for watching. Let's meet in our next video.